Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jason and you're watching Jason Jensen Trains. In today's episode, we're going to be painting detail castings from rustyrail.com. I'm going to show you my techniques on how I paint them. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel. We've just passed 25,000 subscribers, so thank you all so much. And I love hearing from all of you. I love that you take the time to leave a comment in the comment section below. It just means so much to me. So thank you all so much. All right, by the way, I have a very special surprise for you at the end of today's video. So be sure to stay tuned for that. All right, well, like always, we have a lot to do. So let's get to it. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is clean up some of the castings. And you can do as much or as little as you want to. And let me give you an example. Here are two castings that are the same. Now, on this one here, I cut off all of the base. So I just carved in between all the little items. Now you can leave that and glue your scenery material like dirt or grass right on top of it. Or you can see here, I cut it away. And you can do that with an X-Acto knife. You can go in with different small files and file it. You can then take a large file, set it down flat, and make that completely smooth, completely flat. So again, you can do as little or as much as you want. Okay, then after everything is clean, we're going to put this into some hot, soapy water. And I just quick go over them with a brush. And then we'll let them completely dry. And then we'll put a primer on them. Now, we're also going to be doing this really nice truck. There's some assembly. You have to put the wheels on it. Comes with a little load for the back of the pickup. And then we'll be working on this structure. So it comes with 4 walls. And then it comes with a floor. And we'll make this look like old wood. And we'll put some oil drips on there and stains. Really heavily weather it. I wanted to quick point out a casting like this that is trash cans. And what do you get? You get 8 trash cans. And you can see they're dented and they've got trash in them. Now, you can use it just like this and put this along the side of a building. You can bury the base in the scenery, or you can cut that off. You could cut it off with a saw. You could cut the individual trash cans apart so that you have 8 separate trash cans. So there's a lot that can be done with these castings. Say even a long casting like this. Maybe it's a little too long for the area. So for example, let's just cut off this wooden crate. As you can see, it's very easy to carve. You can carve lines in it to create wood grain. So now we have a separate box and it has like a can and some tools on top of it. So now you could put that somewhere else, or you could glue it back on so that now your casting is like an L if it's on the corner of a building. Cut more of these. Cut the barrel off the end, the barrel off of this end. It's endless, really. You'll maybe get one that has a little hole in it that looks like an air bubble, and maybe it was caused from an air bubble. What you can do is, I've done a few different things. I've taken joint compound and get a little bit on the end of my X-Acto knife and fill that hole, smooth it, and let it dry. Then when you put your primer over it and paint it, it's not even noticeable. Or you can take liquid super glue, put a little bit in the hole, and then take some baking soda and sprinkle it over that hole until it fills up, and it hardens right away. And then just carve it or use your little file to smooth it out. You could probably do the same thing with the liquid cement. So those are just a few things. If you do ever get a little hole in it, or a little nick, or a little piece that's missing, you can definitely add to it and it's fine. Okay, so I have all of the detail castings taped down. Now I'm going to use a primer, and I'm going to do a very thin, light coat over these. Again, just be patient. Take your time. Do a very thin coat. You don't be concerned about getting it in every little nook and cranny, because then you'll overspray and it'll get too thick and it'll cover up the detail. Just do a thin, light coat. Try to do as even as possible. Now, if you're not comfortable spraying, Ammo sells a primer, and you can brush it. You can brush on a primer over all these. Well, as you can see, the gray primer is on. Okay, to paint our castings, we're going to be using these brushes. And I picked these up at Michael's craft store. I believe they were $5.99 each. Okay, we're going to start by painting the structure. And as you can see, the walls are covered with corrugated metal. So the first thing we're going to do is add a wash of silver. This happens to be called steel. And then I'm using a flat brush, and I'm just making a thin wash. And it's okay if you get it on the wood. Make sure you get it in all the little cracks. Now with the same color, adding maybe 2 or 3 drops of water, we're going to paint the outside. Now we're going to do some dry brushing in the center of these openings on the panels. We're going to use a light gray. It's called Gray Sky. Oh, and I'm using just a short, straight cut brush. It is number 2. Now we want to lightly go the opposite way. The corrugated metal runs up and down, so we want to drag our brush sort of sideways over it, very lightly. You don't want to see any brush strokes. After it starts to dry on the brush, you can kind of scrub it back and forth. And you can see it just dulls it down and gives it a bit of an aged look. Okay, next we're going to paint the wood, and we're going to start by using iced coffee. So it's pretty straightforward. We're just going to go over all of the wood with a solid coat of this. It doesn't have to be heavy. If some of the gray shows here and there, that's fine. It just adds to the aged look. The hard part is that you have to get the tops and the bottoms of all of the boards without getting it on the corrugated metal. So this is going to take a while. Now I'm finished with painting everything with the iced coffee that is wood. Now some of it is painted solid, and then some of it is dry brush. You can still see that gray in the cracks. Here's a piece that has a lot of details on it, so I just took the iced coffee and sort of dry brushed and did some solid painting over the wood areas. And I just ignored everything that's sitting on the shelves because we'll go in and paint that and detail it. We're going to do some dry brushing of a color called fawn. Now you can use some other colors. You can use a reddish color. A good one is Mississippi Mud. That is definitely a warmer, kind of a reddish brown. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start working on all of the wood. Now, on the wall sections here, it's just going to be a kind of a light dry brushing. And be very careful not to get it on the corrugated panels. Okay, I'm almost done dry brushing the color fawn, and I wanted to quick show you how I am dry brushing heavier over some of the boards. So I'm just going to take my thin brush hopefully you can see that. So you can go as detailed as you want and spend as much time as you want. And really, just to let you know, just painting all of the wood, I have been at this for 3 hours, possibly 3.5, but I want it to look really nice. Next, we'll move on to actually rust color, anything that is a rust color. So basically now we're going to start to get into painting all the individual things. So like we'll do a gray for the cinder block, do some different colored cans. You do want to put some color into it, like some reds, blues, yellows, and then just do a little bit of a dry brushing. We can use our dry brushing paint from Ammo, this brown. It's called chipping, and that will give it a nice rust look, aged look. Okay, so I just grabbed some colors quick. We have turquoise blue, light avocado, French wine. This is French blue and antique gold. So basically you want a yellow color, maybe a light blue, a red, a green, and a little darker blue. This sea breeze. So I just started with the red. I did a barrel and a little object here, 2 things here, and 1 thing there. Now we'll switch to a different color. Let's go with green. Light avocado. We'll wash our brush good. Make sure there's no red in it. Let's do this barrel here. We'll do the entire thing green. Sometimes I put a lighter band around the center of the barrel. But I'm going to do this one solid green. Now my brush was semi-wet before I dipped it into the green paint, so it just makes the paint flow a little bit better. You don't want to just use straight acrylic with a dry, completely dry brush. It tends to be a little too thick, so just get your brush, dip it in the water, blot it on a paper towel, and then dip it in the color you want and start painting. We'll do another can up here. Now these seem really bright now, but when we put our black wash over it, it'll tone it down. Now some of these items, they have silver on them from when we painted the corrugated metal on the wall. So what we can do is just sort of blot the color over it and let some of the silver show through. If you've got too much paint, just put it on your finger. I'm kind of just focusing on the building right now. Now we're going to use antique gold. I love work like this, and I usually put on music in the shop, and it's just so relaxing. Okay, let's break out some of our ammo colors. I'm going to use dark rust, and I'm going to paint a bunch of the objects with this dark rust. And then let's even darken it. Yeah, I think this is a chipping color. It's a really dark brown. Put 2 drops, maybe 3. Yeah, that is a great rust color. And then adding a black wash over this will really make it look like rust and bring out the details. Okay. And it's okay if you don't know what some of the parts are. I think if you just paint everything different colors and give it some value, it's just detail. Again, with some of this stuff, it does have silver on it, so I'm just letting some of that silver show. Okay, there's a cinder block that I have to paint gray and some other parts. So let's find a good gray. Yeah, let's use slate gray. Just doing some dry brushing over some of the objects with the gray. Not much, just a little bit here and there. And don't forget your oil drips. Okay, so I've decided to do my black wash on the structure. So, normally I would do water and black acrylic, but I'm going to try something new. We're going to try using a black wash, which is enamel from Ammo, and we're going to use odorless thinner. I've never done this. So okay, let me zoom in a little bit, and what we'll do is on the back side, which is the inside of the building, we'll try this at the bottom. Yeah, that's gonna work. Okay, so let me show you how that black is getting into the cracks. Nice. I don't know if you can start to see the nail holes. Again, soak up some of the extra if you think it's too heavy. What's incredible is that if this were wood, it would be warping right now probably with how thick I'm going, but it's not warping at all. I did want to mention I would avoid using a hair dryer and drying these with heat, because you just want that black enamel to get into all of the cracks and settle there and dry, where if you're using a hair dryer, you risk blowing the black maybe out of cracks, or letting it run maybe down or in corners. So just let it settle and dry naturally. Okay, well, as you can see, I've been using all the colors, and I'll take one color at a time. Say I'll take red and paint everything that I want red on each casting. Then when I think I'm all done with that, then take green and go through and paint green on everything. Now, right now they're looking kind of colorful, kind of bright, but the next step, after everything is painted, we're going to take a little piece of sponge and tweezers, and we'll take a rust color, maybe a couple rust colors, and we're going to slowly add little dots. We're going to sort of stipple rust over all of the castings. Then when that's all done, we'll put a black wash over everything, and that'll tie everything together and tone down the colors. Actually, I think I'm going to show you how to paint this truck. Now, I've already painted the wood in the bed. We're going to paint this green, and the running boards are going to be black, and then the grill and headlights will be chrome, and we're going to use light avocado. This is probably the most castings I've ever painted at one time. This is my second day at the bench working on this. I don't recommend using the paint straight out of the bottle. I got my brush just a little bit wet, just to thin it. It's a little bit thick straight out of the bottle. We want it thin. If we have to add multiple coats, that's fine. We'll avoid the window. If it's a little clumpy, just add some water and smooth it out. Like I said, we can always come back and do another coat. Sometimes it may look like you've added too much water. Looks like maybe it's puddling, but the water will evaporate and just leave the paint on the surface. Now, it's okay if we get some green on the running boards, because the black will cover it up. Don't worry if the truck is not perfect and you get some little, maybe, I don't know, rough areas from maybe being in the mold, or it just didn't come out great. Those little areas, we'll add rust to those areas. You probably can't see it, but as it dries, it's really smoothing out. It's really giving a nice smooth look, because like I said, that water is drying or evaporating and just leaving the paint on the surface. Okay, we are done with the green. Okay, now we've still got a little bit of green in our tray that's wet. Now here's what we're going to do to lighten that up. We're going to take Sea Breeze. You can see I just put a little bit on my brush. Get some water. This is really giving it a aged, sun-faded look. Always take your time and just be patient. Worst case, if you mess it up, just spray primer on it and start over. So you'll notice I've been going over the same areas because as it dries, it sort of fades away a little bit, so I'm slowly building it up. Let's make a couple of areas that are just really light. Right on the edge of the door in the center. We'll make this truck look pretty old. Okay, next we're going to use medium rust. Now we're just going to put this there's quite a bit of water in there. So let's go along the edge. Okay, now we're done with that color. Now we'll move on to, we're just going to do a little bit of this. It's called dark rust. You can see it's kind of a reddish. Now it's looking kind of bright, but don't worry. I'm going to go over it with a dark brown. And it'll kind of tone it down. Sorry, that noise you hear in the background is my air conditioner. It's kind of loud. Okay, now I believe this one's called chipping color. Any dark brown, even like bittersweet chocolate. I use this one because, as you can see, it's a little more red than the bittersweet chocolate. But if this is what you have, this will work. But again, the ammo colors, the rust set is just perfect. I mean, they just look like real rust. You want to take your time and go really slow. You just want very small dots. You may have to tear it so that you have kind of a point to work with. Okay, let me show you where we're at so far on this. Now, I'll get one of my new brushes This is very thin, very small. Patience is key. Okay, next we'll move on to the running boards. Maybe we'll just add some black to our brown. Put about 3 drops in there. Let's add some neutral gray to it. Okay, I like that. So again, we took black and mixed it with dark brown and with dark gray. So it's not a true black. I know some people will take a cork from like a wine bottle and stick it, like either double stick tape or even just glue it so that you can break it off after you're done. But put it on a piece of cork so that you can hold the piece of cork and not the casting. I'm going to thin this black and paint the grill. Then we'll take a little bit of, I'm going to use light metal, and this is for dry brushing. So as you can see, the paint is, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's really thick. I don't want to wipe too much off, so I'm actually not dry brushing, I'm kind of painting. So I'm just going over the headlights, and there's a bar that goes across. Now let's wipe a bunch off of our brush. Now we're actually dry brushing. And I just want to hit some little edges here and there. So we'll kind of go in the center of those dark brown areas. It really makes it look like the metal showing through. Okay, now we'll take medium rust. Now we're going to do the edges of the running boards. Right at the bottom of the curve, we'll go a little heavier because water would run down the back side of that and puddle up right there on the running board. And we'll go a little heavier on the back side here too. If you want to put a little bit on the chrome, go ahead. I'm going to take a little bit of that silver again and hit the tail lights. They might not be silver on the real truck, but it's going to help them to pop out. And we can put a little dot of red on them when it dries. Put a little bit of silver on the door handle. Looks like maybe there's a little light on the back side of the truck. Okay, so again, after seeing it up close on camera, I went back and watched it. I noticed areas that I want to work on. Mainly some of the large areas where I went a little too heavy with the dark brown rust. So all I'm doing is putting small little dots in the center of those large areas. Really gives it a little bit more too of a chipped paint look. Okay, so all of my colors are done. This is actually my third day on this project. Now what I'm doing is I'm using bittersweet chocolate and a tiny sponge, and I'm just adding some rust, especially along the bottom of the barrels, little dots. Now I have to tell you, towards the end of painting all these, I ended up, like I said, towards the end, just strictly using the dry brush paints from Ammo. These are really thick, and so they're great for dry brushing. You can add water to them to thin them to make a wash, or you can use them straight out of the bottle and put small dots to make highlights. So they're so versatile, especially on the tools. This is a must. It made my life so much easier using that dry brush paint. Alright, I still have a lot. There's a lot of things that need to be rusted, so I'm just going to keep doing this. Like I said, this is my third day working on this. It is a lot of work. You can do as little or as much as you want. The payoff is when I go to photograph these pieces. I think they're going to look really, really nice and super detailed. Okay, now we're going to do our black wash. And we're using odorless thinner. And as you can see, I added a lot of thinner. It's thin. Now you may not want to go over every single item. You might want to leave some. And again, do not use a hair dryer to dry these parts. Just let them sit and dry naturally. Okay, so let's start to rust these. We'll work from light to dark. Let's put a wash over all this, a light wash, and let it dry. So we'll go along that first row. So you can see where each row is. So now we'll start on the next one. Now we'll move on to dark rust. It's a reddish color. Now if you hold your wall at an angle, it helps that paint to run down. Okay, so I let my walls dry for a little while. Now we're going to do a dark brown. I'm going to use bittersweet chocolate, and this time we're going to tape off a row. So you want to make sure that it's really dry. Now we'll go in with our small brush. Okay, I'll go ahead and do the other two walls. Okay, let's glue these together. First, do a dry fit to make sure that they fit good and snug. Now, a good trick, this wall is bowed just slightly. So I'm going to take my hair dryer, and so if you put heat on this side, which I did, it raises it up. If I put heat on this side, it raises this side up. So you can control it, and even now it's still a little soft. Okay, that fits good. And that fits good. Okay, so let's take our gel control. So I quick painted the edges so it kind of matches. Now we just have to get the front glued on. Wow, that was a lot of castings to paint. I thoroughly enjoy painting those, and it's very relaxing for me. All right, well, I'd mentioned that I had a very special surprise at the end of today's video. In my last video, I had mentioned that I have 2 kits coming out by the end of the year. Well, the first kit is going to be coming out very soon, and every casting that you saw me paint today will be included in that kit. So to stay up to date on that project, please follow me on my Facebook page at Jason Jensen Trains, or my Instagram page at Jason Jensen Trains. That kit is going to be with Carolina Craftsman Kits. So again, I've teamed up with Jeff Grove, the owner of Carolina Craftsman Kits, and we will be having, like I said, a new kit coming out very soon that will include all of those detail castings. Even the garage, the truck, everything that you saw me paint. All right, well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. And don't forget to leave me a comment in the comment section below. And be sure to click on that bell up in the corner to be notified when I upload new videos. All right, well, until next time, stay motivated and happy modeling, everyone.